Have you ever experienced a moment when your entire world seems to collapse and the people you trusted the most turn against you? What would you do if you found yourself standing face to face with a past you thought you'd escaped, only to realize it's far from over? Today's story is about Marcus, a man whose life was shattered by betrayal, hardship, and injustice. But more than that, it's about his fierce fight to reclaim his dignity and rewrite his future. Stay with me as we dive deep into a tale filled with unexpected reunions, heartbreaking losses, courtroom drama, and a powerful journey toward redemption. This story isn't just entertainment, it's a reminder that no matter how dark life gets, there's always a path forward. Judge Rebecca Morgan adjusted her glasses as the courtroom slowly filled. The morning sunlight filtered through tall windows, casting long shadows over the polished wooden benches. This wasn't just another day on the bench. Today, her past was about to collide head-on with her present in the most unexpected way. She had spent years building her reputation as a fair and unshakable judge in Detroit's busiest courthouse. Justice to her was absolute. No exceptions, no favors. But the moment the bailiff called the defendant's name, everything inside her tightened. The name was Marcus Hayes. Her childhood best friend, the boy who once swore they'd escaped their tough neighborhood together, and now he sat handcuffed, accused of armed robbery. Rebecca's heart pounded, not out of sympathy, but from a swirling storm of emotions she thought she'd buried long ago. She remembered Marcus's laughter echoing through the cracked sidewalks of their old neighborhood, the secrets they shared under flickering street lamps. But more than that, she recalled the day he disappeared from her life without a word, leaving behind unanswered questions and a trail of broken promises. As Marcus's eyes met hers across the courtroom, a flicker of recognition passed, followed by a shadow of pain. Neither said a word, but in that instant, the courtroom was no longer just a place of law. It was a battleground where loyalty, justice, and buried memories would clash. Rebecca closed her eyes for a brief moment, reminding herself her role was clear. Impartiality was the foundation of the law. Yet, deep inside, she wrestled with a quiet, terrifying question. Could she truly separate the girl who once dreamed with Marcus from the judge who now held his fate in her hands? The prosecutor began laying out the case, but Rebecca's mind drifted back to the past, the childhood they shared, the harsh streets that shaped them, and the moments when everything started to unravel. How did Marcus end up here? Was he the boy she once knew, or had life hardened him beyond recognition? Just then, a sudden commotion in the courtroom caught everyone's attention. A surprise witness stepped forward, someone from their shared past, ready to reveal a truth that no one expected. The courtroom hushed, leaning in. And just like that, the trial that promised justice turned into a journey of reckoning, not just for Marcus, but for Rebecca herself. The courtroom doors seemed heavier now as the past and present intertwined. What followed would reveal not only the story of one man, but the harsh realities faced by so many like him. To truly understand Marcus' story, we need to step back and see where it all began. In a Detroit neighborhood where childhood dreams collided with the harshness of reality. The courtroom buzzed with tension, but as Judge Emily stared down at the defense table, her mind slipped back to a much quieter, simpler time. She remembered when she and Marcus Hayes were inseparable, two kids from the same neighborhood in East Dallas, sharing dreams under the Texas sun. They had built forts in backyards, raced down streets on battered bikes, and made promises about conquering the world together. But life, as it often does, had other plans. Marcus wasn't just a friend, he was like a brother. But then came the day that shattered everything. His family was torn apart by a sudden tragedy, a fire that swallowed their home and took away his parents. Suddenly, Marcus disappeared from her life as if swallowed by the earth itself. No calls, no letters, nothing. Emily was left with a hollow ache, haunted by unanswered questions. Where had Marcus gone? How had his life spiraled so far off course that today they met again on opposite sides of a courtroom? This wasn't just a story of lost childhood, it was the harsh reality many face when circumstances beyond their control rip apart the fragile fabric of family and friendship. Emily recalled the nights spent worrying about Marcus, imagining him lost in a world that offered no mercy, no second chances. It was a painful reminder of how quickly innocence could be stolen and how the choices we make under pressure can define our futures. But there was more to the story, a secret Emily had uncovered during the trial that shook her to the core. A letter hidden among the evidence, written by Marcus in those dark years, pleading for help from someone who never came. The letter revealed a side of Marcus no one expected. A boy desperate to escape a life of hardship, but trapped by fear and betrayal. This revelation wasn't just a plot twist. It was a mirror reflecting a painful truth, how neglect and abandonment can push even the strongest souls to the brink. It forced Emily to confront her own beliefs about justice and forgiveness. Could she judge Marcus fairly when she understood the depths of his struggle? As the past collided with the present, Emily realized this courtroom wasn't just a place for punishment, it was a battlefield for redemption, where the scars of childhood met the hope for a second chance. And somewhere deep inside, she knew their story was far from over. But before the gavel could fall, an unexpected visitor entered the courtroom, someone whose testimony would unravel everything Emily thought she knew. Ready to uncover how this visitor's words will change the course of the trial and what hidden truths will come to light? Let's dive deeper into the tangled web of loyalty, betrayal, and hope in the next chapter. Marcus Hayes wasn't always the man standing in that courtroom, accused and desperate. Once he was just a kid with a world of possibilities ahead of him. But after the fire that tore his family apart, Marcus found himself trapped in a harsh reality few understand. With no parents to guide him and foster homes that felt more like prisons than sanctuaries, he spiraled into a life of hardship. The streets of East Dallas, once filled with laughter and hope, became battlegrounds of survival. At first, Marcus tried to keep his head down, clutching on to the fragile hope that things would get better. But the world around him had little mercy for a lost boy. He fell in with the wrong crowd, people who promised protection but demanded loyalty in exchange. Small mistakes piled up, skipping school, petty theft, and late-night fights. Each step away from the boy Emily once knew was fueled by pain and abandonment. Then came the night that changed everything. A robbery gone wrong, a gunshot in the dark, and suddenly Marcus was no longer a scared kid. He was a suspect facing serious charges. The road to the courtroom was paved with broken chances and a community quick to judge without knowing the full story. But beneath the surface, Marcus's story was not just one of crime. It was a story of survival against odds stacked high. What many didn't see was the quiet moments when Marcus fought back tears in an empty room, wondering how a boy with so much promise had fallen so far. His struggle wasn't just with the law. It was with his own sense of worth and the haunting question of whether anyone still believed in him. This journey through darkness teaches us a harsh but necessary lesson. Sometimes the system fails those who need help the most. It also forces us to ask, how often do we overlook the pain behind the mistakes? Just as Marcus's case seemed sealed by the cold facts, an unexpected twist emerged, something that challenged everything the court thought they knew about his guilt and innocence. But before we reveal that, it's crucial to understand the people who stood by him in the darkest hours, the ones who saw past the mistakes to the human beneath. Next, we'll meet those unlikely allies and uncover the hidden strength that might just rewrite Marcus's fate. Ready to see how loyalty and hope can clash with judgment and despair? The courtroom was thick with tension as the trial unfolded. Marcus sat quietly, his hands clenched, trying to keep the storm inside him at bay. The prosecution laid out their case with relentless precision, damning evidence, witness testimonies, and a narrative that painted Marcus as a cold-hearted criminal. The security footage was grainy but convincing, the fingerprints undeniable. On paper, the case seemed airtight, but as anyone who's ever been judged too quickly knows, truth is rarely as simple as it seems. What Marcus and many others faced was not just a trial of facts, but a trial of prejudice. The judge's stern gaze, the jury's whispered doubts, and the murmurs from the gallery revealed a harsh reality. Society often sees a person's past before they see their present. Marcus's troubled history wasn't just background noise, it was ammunition. His foster care records, juvenile offenses, and the streets he roamed became shackles that weighed heavier than any handcuff. Yet, beneath the surface, cracks began to appear. Marcus's defense attorney, a seasoned woman named Claire Reynolds, wasn't willing to let the story end with assumptions. She knew that every piece of evidence had a context, and every witness a bias. Through painstaking cross-examinations, she revealed inconsistencies in the testimonies and gaps in the prosecution's timeline that no one had noticed before. A security camera angle overlooked, a witness whose memory wavered under pressure. Small details, but enough to cast doubt. And then came the unexpected twist. A new piece of evidence surfaced, an anonymous tip with a recording that questioned the entire narrative. Suddenly, the case took a turn from certain conviction to haunting uncertainty. It was a reminder that truth isn't a fixed point, but a shifting landscape shaped by perspective, courage, and sometimes luck. This part of Marcus's story teaches us something crucial. The justice system can be blind to the nuances of human lives. Prejudice can masquerade as certainty, and evidence can be as fragile as trust. It urges us to look beyond the surface, to question what we think we know, and to remember that every person deserves a chance to be truly heard. As the courtroom drama reached its peak, the question remained, would justice prevail, or would Marcus's past condemn him forever? Marcus rose to speak. The courtroom, heavy with doubt and suspicion, suddenly fell silent. Like the moment before a storm breaks, his voice was steady but carried the weight of years spent in silence and shadows. What followed was no typical defense full of legal jargon or rehearsed statements. It was raw, honest, and deeply human, a story of redemption that no one expected. "I'm not here to deny my past," Marcus began, "because it's part of who I am. But I'm more than the mistakes I made and the labels they gave me." He spoke of his childhood torn apart by loss and neglect, the loneliness that pushed him down dangerous paths, and the small moments of hope that kept him going. He shared the nights he spent trying to rewrite his story, not as a victim, but as someone fighting for a future. His words painted a picture of a man who, despite everything, still believed in second chances. What made this defense so powerful wasn't just the vulnerability Marcus showed, but the undeniable truth in it. The jury saw a man confronting his past head-on, refusing to be defined by it. There was a spark of something that went beyond guilt or innocence, a plea for understanding and forgiveness. Then came the plot twist that no one in the courtroom saw coming. Marcus revealed that the anonymous tip, the recording that had shifted the case, was connected to someone close, someone trying to protect the real truth, even at great personal risk. This revelation shattered the prosecution's confidence and opened new doors for justice to be served. The lesson here goes far beyond the courtroom walls. Redemption is not about erasing your past, but embracing it, learning from it, and choosing to rise above it. Marcus's heartfelt defense reminds us all that no matter how far we fall, the fight to reclaim our lives is the most courageous battle of all. As the jury prepared to deliberate, the courtroom buzzed with a mix of hope and uncertainty. Marcus's story wasn't just about a trial anymore. It was about the fragile, powerful journey toward healing and truth. Next, we'll explore the jury's verdict, the unexpected consequences that followed, and the final twists that changed everything. Stick around. This story is about to reach its climax. The courtroom grew unbearably silent as the jury filed back in, faces unreadable, hearts pounding. Marcus sat motionless, his hands clenched tightly, every muscle tense with anticipation. The verdict was more than a word. It was the culmination of years of pain, struggle, and hope. When the foreperson finally spoke, the weight of justice fell like a heavy curtain. Not guilty on all charges. A wave of relief and disbelief swept through the room. But this was not the end. It was only the beginning of a deeper, more complicated journey. Outside the courtroom, the world Marcus stepped back into was far from simple. While the gavel had delivered a verdict, true justice, the kind that heals wounds and rebuilds lives, was still unfolding. Marcus's fight sparked conversations in his community about second chances and the scars left by judgment and prejudice. He became an unexpected symbol of resilience, not because he was flawless, but because he dared to face his past and rewrite his future. Yet the aftermath wasn't without its shadows. Relationships strained by years of secrets had to be mended. Trust was fragile and slow to rebuild. Marcus learned that freedom is not just walking out of a courtroom, it's reclaiming one's dignity in a world quick to label and slow to forgive. The greatest twist, however, was how this experience transformed Marcus himself. From a man haunted by mistakes to someone who could inspire others facing their own battles, his story showed that justice goes beyond verdicts. It lives in every act of courage to change, to heal, and to forgive. So, what can we learn from Marcus's journey? That the hardest trials are often those within ourselves, and that true justice isn't just about punishment or exoneration. It's about compassion, growth, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Marcus's story reminds us all that no matter how dark the past, the light of redemption can shine through if we have the courage to seek it. In the next and final part, we'll reflect on the lessons Marcus's story leaves us, how to find strength in our struggles, the power of forgiveness, and why every setback can be the start of a new beginning. Stay with me because this story isn't over yet. As Marcus stepped away from the courtroom's imposing doors, the echoes of the verdict still ringing in his ears, he realized something profound. His story was no longer just about him. It was about every person who's ever been broken, misunderstood, or cast aside. Reflection settled in like a quiet fire warming even the coldest doubts. What does it truly mean to seek justice, to fight for redemption? And more importantly, how do we move forward when the world has already decided our fate? Marcus's journey teaches us that life rarely offers neat endings. The courtroom's judgment was just one chapter. Sometimes the hardest battles come after the gavel falls. It's the fight to reclaim your identity, to forgive yourself, and to rebuild what's been shattered. This is a lesson for us all. Our past mistakes do not define us, but our response to those mistakes does. Think about the times you've faced judgment, maybe by others or even yourself. How often do we allow those moments to imprison us rather than using them as stepping stones? Marcus's story challenges us to break free from those invisible chains. It reminds us that courage isn't the absence of fear or failure, it's rising despite them. And here's the unexpected twist. Sometimes the people who seem to have fallen the furthest have the clearest vision of what matters. Marcus's hardships became the soil in which his strength grew. From betrayal to courtroom drama, he emerged not just as a survivor, but as a beacon of hope. So what's the real verdict for us, the listeners? It's this. Life's greatest truths aren't found in perfect outcomes, but in the resilience to keep going, to seek justice beyond the surface, and to embrace the messy, beautiful process of healing. Marcus's story invites us all to look within, find that spark, and ignite our own path forward. As we close this chapter, remember every setback, every tear, every tough lesson is a thread in the tapestry of who we become, and sometimes the greatest redemption lies not in the world's approval, but in the quiet strength of your own heart. Before we part ways, let's pause for a moment to reflect on the real, practical lessons Marcus's story offers. Lessons that aren't just inspiring, but actionable, ready to help you face your own battles with courage and clarity. Because stories like these don't end when the credits roll. They live on through the choices we make every day. So here's the bonus, some hard-earned wisdom you can carry with you no matter where your journey takes you. First, embrace your truth no matter how messy it feels. Like Marcus, you might face moments when your story feels misunderstood or even judged unfairly, but the power lies in owning your narrative, telling it in your own words, standing firm even when others doubt you. This isn't about proving anyone wrong. It's about proving to yourself that your voice matters. Next, don't shy away from seeking help. Marcus's road to redemption was never walked alone. Whether it's a trusted friend or a professional, reaching out isn't a sign of weakness. It's a strategic move towards healing. Isolation might seem like a refuge, but it often deepens the wound. Another key takeaway: resilience isn't about avoiding failure, it's about learning from it and rising stronger. Think back on a time you stumbled. What did you learn? How did it shape your path forward? Marcus's story reminds us that are setups for comebacks if only we choose to see them that way. Beware of letting bitterness or anger consume you. These emotions are natural but dangerous if left unchecked. Instead, channel that energy into something constructive, whether it's creative expression, activism, or personal growth. Marcus's courtroom wasn't just a place of judgment, it became a stage for transformation. And finally, cultivate patience with yourself. Change doesn't happen overnight, and healing is often nonlinear. There will be days of progress and days of doubt. That's okay. What matters is the commitment to keep moving step by step toward your better self. Here's the plot twist worth holding on to. Sometimes the most unexpected breakthroughs come when we least expect them. Life has a way of surprising us, offering new beginnings just when we think the story's over. So keep your heart open and your spirit ready. If Marcus's journey taught us anything, it's that justice, redemption, and growth are possible, not because the world owes it to us, but because we choose to fight for it every day. Marcus's story reminds us that life's toughest battles often come with the greatest lessons. It's not just about winning in a courtroom or seeking revenge. It's about finding the strength to forgive, to heal, and to keep moving forward even when the odds seem stacked against us. If you've ever felt broken, betrayed, or powerless, know this: your story isn't finished. Like Marcus, you have the power to turn pain into purpose and setbacks into stepping stones. Thank you for listening, sharing this journey. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes the stories we hear can change the stories we live. Until next time, keep holding on, keep believing, and keep fighting for your own justice.